You're listening to the International Moving Podcast, your guide to moving to another country, brought to you by SDC International Shipping, LA's finest. An international move is exciting. It's a time to start over, establish a new business maybe, reestablish family ties, or retire where your budget will do more for you. Please enjoy today's episode, and if you have any questions about your international move, give us a call at 888-779-3962. That's 888-779-3962. All right, welcome back, everyone. This is Jim for SDC International Shipping. This is the Monday edition of the International Moving Podcast. Great to be back here again with you today. You know, for the last several weeks, I've been wanting to talk about this topic. Here at SDC International Shipping, we move clients and customers from all 50 states, from coast to coast, and we talk a lot about the moving process. We talk about what it's like to live in other countries. We compare cost of living, city versus suburbs, and a lot of different items related to international moving. But we also move people from other countries, from Europe, Asia, Africa, Australia, from those countries here to the United States. So we go both ways, from the U.S., out of the U.S., and into the U.S. We actually move people from all over. So when we talk about SDC being an international moving company, we're exactly that. Now, the headquarters happen to be in Los Angeles, California. But like I said, we're not limited to any one area. We have crews of movers and specialists everywhere. So wherever you're at listening to this, now just know that if you have any questions about making an international move, you can connect with us. We're online, sdcinternationalshipping.com. You can call direct 877-339-0267. You can chat with people online and get immediate answers to your questions. But today I want to focus on people moving from outside of the United States into the United States. And I want to take a look at the key locations where most new immigrants typically settle. Now, I remember when I was a kid going to New York City, and in New York there were places like Chinatown and Little Italy, and locations throughout the United States still have populations of immigrants, some from India, some from the Middle East, all over. And that's just typical of when people come from other countries into the United States and everything is new, that you have a sense of familiarity when you're connected with other people that have the same background as you, speak the same language. Oftentimes, many people speak other languages besides English coming into this country, with, a few exceptions. I don't want to say a few exceptions, but you understand what I'm talking about. I mean, all of Europe basically speaks English, but not everybody. But there's a reason why people come to certain places today, just like there was in the past. And most of this has to do with job opportunities, large communities there, resources, and some places are just better geared to help newcomers transition and make that transition more smoothly into the American lifestyle. So let's jump in and talk about some of these places. I want to start with number one. This, of course, will come as no surprise to anyone. I'm talking about New York City. New York City is one of the most iconic places in the world. I've seen its reputation go up and down throughout my lifetime. Times when it's been great to be there, times when it's been awful to be there. Whether we're talking about illegal or legal immigration, New York has always been a key location as far as attracting people from outside of the United States. New York is known for its diversity. If you've ever been there, you know you can probably get some of the best food in the world and every type of food that you could imagine. So if you want Italian food, you'll find Italian food. If you want Portuguese food, you'll find that. If you want Spanish food, in other words, it just goes on and on. So New York has long been one of the most popular destinations for immigrants from countries like, especially today, the Dominican Republic, China, and India. In fact, right now, over 1/3 of New York City residents are foreign-born. So let's ask the question, why is New York so popular? Well, for one, it has a wide array of industries that attract people with all sorts of backgrounds and skills. From finance to tech to hospitality and healthcare, the job market in New York is vast. New York is also the home to a wealth of immigrant focused resources, from community organizations to language classes to legal aid services. For those looking to immerse themselves in a community with people from their home country, there's still neighborhoods like Chinatown, Jackson Heights, and Washington Heights that offer cultural familiarity, food, and support. Number two, Los Angeles, California. So on the West Coast, we can look at Los Angeles, California, because LA is a huge draw for immigrants, especially those from Mexico, El Salvador, Guatemala, and the Philippines. The weather, proximity to Latin America and Asia, the city's reputation as a hub for entertainment and culture make it very attractive. Los Angeles has a huge economy there, one of the largest in the world, with job opportunities in entertainment, healthcare, technology, trade. Plus, Los Angeles is home to one of the largest Mexican American communities in the United States, as well as having a very strong Filipino, Vietnamese, and Korean communities. Neighborhoods like Koreatown, Little Tokyo, and Boyle Heights provide an anchor of sorts for these groups of people, and it makes it easier for them to build a life here in the United States. Number three, now we're in my part of the country, Miami, Florida. So when we're talking about Miami, Florida, Miami is a vibrant city known for its strong Latin influences, and Miami has long been a destination for Cuban immigrants, and today it's a popular spot for people who are coming here from Colombia, the Dominican Republic, and Venezuela. Miami's economy is bolstered by things like international trade, tourism, finance, and we're just going to talk about the legal stuff, okay? Making it an ideal location for people looking to work in these industries. The city has close ties with Latin America, which means that the immigrants from these countries often feel a sense of cultural continuity when they get here. Neighborhoods like Little Havana are rich in Latin American culture, and that provides a sense of home for newcomers. Next, number four, you might be a little surprised by this one, Houston, Texas. Houston is really growing. I have friends there. If you're looking to buy a home, an affordable home, there's still a place where you can get a lot for your money. The economy is doing really well there. Houston is just growing by leaps and bounds, and the city is becoming increasingly popular among immigrants from places like Mexico, India, and Vietnam. Houston's economy is booming right now, thanks in large part to the energy industry, oil, gas, as well as healthcare and technology. One of the things that sticks out to me, I don't know if it does to you listening to this podcast if you're a regular listener. One of the things that sticks out to me is, regardless of whether we're talking about the United States, Canada, Central America, Europe, Asia, healthcare and technology sectors are just big everywhere. So if you're in healthcare, any kind of healthcare, you can basically go anywhere in the world to look for work or to continue a career or to grow your career. And it's the same thing with technology. And I know things are challenging today, but at least if you have an idea of if there's a future in certain areas. I remember when I was in college, there were certain things that I was interested in, but those things weren't exactly money makers. And then, when you go to guidance counselors and people like that, sometimes you don't exactly get up-to-date information. And, it's just one of the things is we didn't have the internet back then either. So there's that, kind of giving away my age a little bit here. But I'm a Generation Xer. Let me just put it that way. I'm a Generation Xer at the beginning of Generation X. And so, I love the fact that we can go online and you can visit different sites and you can do searches and talk to people in communities and find out what's happening there. And you'll always find people that say, oh, this place is terrible, this place is great, and this place is so-so. Everybody has a different experience in the same place. And so I try not to go too much by when people say negative things, because I know, especially people that lived in places all their lives, sometimes all they see is the bad in the place, and they want to be somewhere else. I think that's just human nature. No matter where you are, you don't realize the good that you have until you don't have it anymore. But anyway, not to get too sidetracked on that, I wanted just to bring that up because healthcare and technology are two of the things that I think that if you were a young person or you know young people, just keep that in the back of your mind if they're ever wondering about where are good places to live. Healthcare and technology are pretty big in every city, and if you live in proximity, you don't have to live in a city, but closer to a city, I think then you're stacking the deck more so in your favor than not. But now let's get back to Houston. Houston is known for being a very affordable. Yes, that is not a misprint. It's a very affordable major U.S. city. Matter of fact, from what people tell me, it's one of the few remaining affordable U.S. cities as of this recording here in 2024. The cost of living is relatively low compared to other parts of the country, and this is a major attraction to people that want to establish themselves without the high cost of living associated with some of the other large cities. Neighborhoods like Chinatown, Mahatma Gandhi District, that places like this showcase Houston's diversity and the supportive communities that exist there for immigrants. Next, we have Chicago, Illinois. A lot of my friends have moved to the South from Chicago. I've never been there. They tell me the food is incredible. Let's talk a little bit about it because that's number 5. Chicago, Illinois is a historic hub for immigrants. Many people from Mexico, Poland, India, China have made Chicago home. The city's location and industries in finance, that's another big one, manufacturing and transportation make it a popular destination. Chicago has a rich cultural landscape with neighborhoods like Pilsen, which has a strong Mexican community, and Chinatown. I think just about every big city has a Chinatown in it now. The city's commitment to diversity and integration offers newcomers a lot of support. From legal aid to educational resources, it's easier for immigrants to start fresh in a place like Chicago. Next, we have San Francisco. San Francisco and the surrounding Bay Area are still popular. It's still a popular destination for immigrants, especially from India, China, and the Philippines. Now, I noticed a lot of people that come over from other countries like India, China, and the Philippines, as an example, that I know of are get into the restaurant industry and this hospitality industries. There will always be people, there will always be jobs available in those industries. And as hard as the restaurant industry is, I know this because I know people in the restaurant industry, there never seems to be a shortage of new restaurants. I mean, restaurants can go out of business and people can talk about how difficult that industry is, but the demand for it is always there. The desire to start a restaurant, I think, is still the number 1, number 2 business of choice for entrepreneurs, who have some money to invest. So it's amazing. If you've ever experienced what goes into the restaurant business or seen it, maybe not even up close, but just have a peek into it, a lot is involved. I think that's one of the reasons why some of the restaurants, especially immigrant-wise, that do the best are family-owned, because everybody's involved in the business. And parents, sons and daughters, nieces and nephews, aunts and uncles. So now, San Francisco, of course, we have to also talk about the tech industry of Silicon Valley. It's still there. People talk about how many people have left California, and especially companies, to go other places. And that's true. But it's not exactly a ghost town. Let me put it that way. And I don't think it ever will be. The cost of living is high, but people who go there with engineering and technology skills, they bring those skills and they bring their investment from all over the world. The Bay Area offers high wages and career growth. There are still opportunities there, especially in tech and startups. I don't think that will change in the next at least 5 years or so. I think it will still be that way because even in the most challenging of times, there are a lot of tech companies in the San Francisco Bay Area. So cities like Fremont and Daly City have a strong Filipino and Indian communities, and those communities provide a network of support for new arrivals. Next, we have Atlanta. Atlanta, Georgia has been growing rapidly and has become a popular choice for immigrants from India, Vietnam, and other African countries. Atlanta has a booming economy. I know they recently got involved. When I say recently, it's been at least several years now. But in the movie industry, they offer all types of incentives, and they've attracted a lot of filmmaking opportunities there. I know a lot of Hollywood studios film in Atlanta because it's cheaper to do. They also film in Canada, but yeah, just a little side note there. If you're in that industry, there's opportunities there. So logistics, film production, healthcare, these are some of the popular industries that are doing very well as of this recording, 2024, late 2024, in Atlanta, Georgia. The cost of living there is relatively affordable. Neighborhoods like DeKalb and Gwinnett counties are known for just a whole mix of people. The city is still known for its southern hospitality. A growing immigrant community also make it an appealing place for newcomers. One of the other places I think it's interesting that, this is just a side note here that has caught my attention recently, is Vietnam. We see more people immigrating here from Vietnam in the past, and vice versa. There's more relocating to Vietnam because they have also a growing tech industry. They also have a very modern culture there and infrastructure, and people are retiring there because they get the best of the modern world plus the cheaper cost of living. Okay, let's keep going. Washington, D.C., and Northern Virginia. The Washington, D.C. metropolitan area, including Northern Virginia, is another top destination for immigrants, especially those from El Salvador, Ethiopia, and India. The area has a strong job market in government, technology, and healthcare also is a big draw. Of course, government makes sense. So the DC area is also one of the most diverse regions in the country, with a variety of cultural festivals, restaurants, and organizations that celebrate different heritages. Did I say that properly? Heritages. Neighborhoods like Arlington and Silver Spring have vibrant immigrant communities. And of course, once you have that in place, it's an easier draw for newcomers because it makes the whole integration process a lot easier. I guess there's one point in time where you've got X number of people who are the first there, and they have it the hardest, and then they invite some people, and so on and so on. That's how areas grow. I know when you look at the history of the United States, that's exactly what you see, where you have times in history where certain people from certain countries will migrate, and they'll create neighborhoods, they'll create restaurants, they'll create businesses, they'll create all of that. And then we just see everything unfold, and it keeps happening. Now you don't see so much the Irish and the Italian and those neighborhoods like the original story of New York. Now, though, the Italian culture is more or less integrated into the American culture, as is the Irish culture. If you've ever seen Gangs of New York, really interesting movie. I think Leonardo DiCaprio was in it. Excuse me. And you can see how the Irish populated the original ghettos, and then the Italians came in their own ghettos, and there was a Jewish ghetto, and it was like the story of the early America, rise of organized crime and all of that. Lots of movies made about the topic. But now we look at what we have today. For example, both sides of my family came from Italy, and even my grandparents who were born here consider themselves to be Italian Americans. And there's still Italians that call themselves Italian Americans, I don't know, whatever nationality you are listening to this, if you're here in the United States like I am, I'm wondering if your family still refers to themselves as wherever you came from, Irish or English/American. And I think with the passing of time, there's less and less of that because American culture sort of overrides eventually the culture of the native country over a series of generations, or that's how it seems to be. And so I find that a little bit, I think what I like about America in comparison to a lot of other places is that you have arguably the best influences of cultures from all around the world. And the place that I find that expressed the strongest is in the cuisine. I would never want Asian food or Italian food or Mexican food or any of those to disappear and become a new blend of single food. I like the fact that America is more of a salad than it is a stew. So when you have a stew, everything is mixed together and you really can't taste any one of those things like you used to when they were separate. But with a salad, you can still pick out this is the tomato, or this is a little piece of mozzarella cheese, or this is this and this and this is that. I think that is kind of what America's like, as a better description. I don't know if you've ever thought about it, but yeah, I like the cuisines. I don't want the cuisines to disappear. I like the way things were made with original and fresh ingredients. I'm not really a foodie, but I appreciate good food as much as the next person. And I know that the food that we get here and the food that our grandparents eat, the food that we eat in this time, the food that grandparents ate are not the same foods anymore. I think that like mass production, and I don't want to get into too much of that, but I hope we get back to the way things used to be, where things, I don't know if there's a way to do it. I don't know if there's a way to mass produce food without a bunch of chemicals. But I do know even in my lifetime, and I'm still in my 50s, if things seemed a little better quality back then than they do now. But anyway, let's keep on going. Let's talk about Dallas, the last one, the Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas area. Texas is another hotspot for immigrants, the Dallas-Fort Worth area. This region attracts immigrants from Mexico, India, and Vietnam right now, thanks to its robust economy and, again, reasonable cost of living. The Dallas area has opportunities in industries such as tech, healthcare, and manufacturing, and in recent years, it's also gained a reputation as a destination for Indian and Vietnamese communities, which have established neighborhoods, they have cultural events, all of these things coupled together, like the other locations that we talked about, that makes the transition easier for new residents. All right, so I think that about wraps it up. That's a quick tour of some of the top U.S. destinations for new immigrants. One of the things that I didn't look into, which I wish I would have now that I'm looking at this, is manufacturing, because I know a lot of manufacturing is automated today. So I was curious what type of manufacturing is still done manually. And I know even with some of these warehouses that are almost 100% automated, there still has to be like one or two people there to make sure everything runs correctly. So yeah, there's that side of things. I know automotive plants also, even though they have a lot of robotics that help move things along on kind of like a conveyor belt type of a system along a line, I know that there's a lot of people also that work there. Maybe not quite as many as before, but it still needs the human touch, so to speak. People do have to make sure that a certain level of quality is achieved for each part. So there's like hands-on and eyes-on just about everything there, even though the machine is doing a lot of the actual heavy lifting. But yes, I would be interested to know what type of manufacturing is still popular today. But whether we're talking about job markets, affordability, cultural networks, each of these locations does have something that's currently attracting people, or several things, I should say, that attracts people from around the world. So if you're planning an international move here to the United States, let me wrap up by saying that we here at SDC International Shipping are here to help, from packing and shipping to storage and delivery. We'll handle all of the logistics so you can focus on starting your new life here in the United States. So visit our website at www.sdcinternationalshipping.com or give us a call for a free quote, 877-339-0267, or you can do the free quote also at the website. So thanks for joining me for today's episode. If you liked it, go ahead and share it. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. And I will see you next Monday in my next episode. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you then.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Thanks for listening. Whether you're relocating within the country or moving to the other side of the world, we're here to help from start to finish. Connect with us today at 888-779-3962. That's 888-779-3962.